It's been a while since we last had a conversation, since the last vlog came out. I guess it's been about 2 months or so. There are some very good reasons for that though, and I want to fill you in on what's been going on over the last couple of months, what we're doing here at Eisei-en, and what we're going to be doing going forward at the garden. So first and foremost, the last vlog featured some of the work I was doing at Koka-en in Osaka. Well, just after I finished that work, we started our Kokufu Bonsai tour, where we take a group of people from around the world, we meet in Japan, and we travel around the country to different bonsai nurseries, different gardens. We also go up to Tokyo for the Kokufu 10. Well, we had 30 people on the tour this year, which is the biggest group we've ever taken. Fantastic group of people from, I believe, 8 countries around the world, which is great. But on the second day of the tour, right about dinner time, my stomach started really hurting. I wasn't feeling great. Decided, all right, I'm gonna go back to the hotel. I'm gonna try to go to bed, try to get a good night's sleep, because we've got to get up the next day for a great day of touring around Kyoto. Well, by 2 a.m., I still wasn't asleep. I was still rolling around. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And finally, Nancy told me, get in a taxi, go to the hospital, get it checked out. Maybe they can give you some pills and you can pass whatever's going on with your system. So I get over to the hospital, go to the emergency room. They scan me and they tell me that I have acute appendicitis. So I had to get my appendix taken out at 5 a.m. that day, which meant that I was out of the tour for the next 2 days. Luckily though, I was able to rejoin the tour a couple days later, and I got some great shots of the guys and the gals who participated in the tour. So here's a little bit of the highlights from that. So as you can see now, we're back at Eisei-en here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're starting out our spring season right now with a whole bunch of repotting. I've actually been repotting for the last several days. We've got probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 trees done so far, but we've got a lot more to do going forward. So I want to show you some of the trees that have already been repotted, some of the trees that are going to be repotted going forward. It's always kind of a tricky process this time of year, particularly in this environment, because our temperatures fluctuate so much over the course of the spring. Like right now outside, it's about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty warm, but tonight it's going to dip down to about 28, which is about -1, -2 or so in Celsius. So we've got massive fluctuations. So this whole process is just a huge pain in the butt, moving things in and out, making sure that everything survives that was just repotted, but it's part of the love of bonsai. It's part of being a bonsai professional. I want to share a little bit of that experience with you. So let me show you a few of the trees that we've potted up so far at Eisei-en first, and then what we're going to be potting going forward. So first and foremost is our giant Rocky Mountain juniper here. This was collected by the guys at Backcountry Bonsai out in Wyoming a few years ago, and we were finally able to transition it over into this pot right here. So this tree, when the guys at Backcountry Bonsai collected it, had a really long root system to it. So it was planted in a very narrow box that was very long from side to side. So I was very worried that we were going to have trouble reducing the root system down to fit in an actual container like this. But luckily, when we pulled it out of the wooden box, we realized that the whole root on the left side of the tree was in fact dead. And we could cut that back and fit it in this nice container very easily. So we've got it wedged in here with some wood down here at the base, which is pretty typical when you're you're working with large yamadori like this, they don't have a massive root system. They're not going to be very stable in the pot. So we have to find all sorts of interesting engineering ways to get them to stay solid in the pot and not move around with the wind and potentially tear the roots. So this thing I think is going to be a fantastic tree. We're going to be working on changing the foliage on this tree to something a little bit better over the course of this next year. So I'll fill you guys in on that project as we go. Here's another big project that we potted up recently. This is a Sierra juniper that was collected out in the Sierra Mountains out in California. And the tree's been out of the ground for, I guess, about 5 years now, but this is the first time that it's actually been transitioned from a plastic container that it was originally potted in into an actual ceramic container here. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of foliage up here. It's very, very long, very tall. That eventually is going to get cut down, but for the time being, we're going to leave this alone, let it grow some more roots, recuperate from the repotting process, and then hopefully this fall we'll be able to style this guy up. And again, I'm going to show you what that process looks like as we get into the design process. Now, while we were away in Japan for our tour, I had some guys here working on the workshop, finishing it out. Now, you'll probably remember back to last year when I did a vlog about building a wall with drywall so I could take photos and shoot video against that wall, kind of a little mini photo studio. Well, that wall has now turned into this wall and looks a heck of a lot better than when I did it. That's the difference between a professional and an amateur like myself. So I'm glad to have this all finished up. It's also insulated in here, which is great, so it keeps the temperatures nice and warm. And we've finished out the roof in here too with this nice tongue and groove pine wood. So I think that turned out pretty cool. Last but not least though, and I think this is the coolest part of this workshop, are these garage doors up here. These garage doors are clear, obviously, so it lets a lot of natural light inside of the workshop here, but they're also insulated too, so it does keep that heat in during the winter, and it keeps it cool in here during the summer, which is great. And last but not least is the monster over here in the corner. I featured this tree in a few vlogs in the past, but as you can see, it's starting to move along to that next stage in the process. As a matter of fact, what I'm working on right now is filming for the second half of my advanced course with Bonsai Empire, which we're going to be putting out in April of this year, April 2019, so it's coming up here pretty shortly. But what I'm doing right now is actually styling this tree. So as you can see, I've removed all of the unnecessary foliage on the tree, wired it all up, but I haven't yet set the branches. So later today, when the light's a little bit better outside here, I'm gonna set up the camera and actually film the design process of this tree. So I'm gonna do this as a time lapse for you guys, but if you wanna check out the actual process of building and designing this tree, you'll have to check out my online advanced course with Bonsai Empire when that comes out in about a month from now. So I'm gonna put a link in the description down below, so you can follow that link to the course page and sign up for our early bird specials if you're interested in doing that.